I love stories. I have become known as a storyteller myself.
Okay.
Me neither. I don't know what they're like. I love reading them, and I love watching them. You know, movies are great stories. Some of them.
Usually.
Some of them are too much of a story. Some of them are not enough of a story. Books. When I was a young lad, I used to read all the time. When I was in high school, middle school actually, I was the guy carrying a book this thick. That was not a book to study, but it was just a book to read. I read The Lord of the Rings before anybody else I knew did. Huh?
Hipster.
Yeah. I read The Lord of the Rings before it was cool to read The Lord of the Rings. Before they made movies out of them. I love that story. I love that story. I love reading them. I've read them at least 6 times.
Dude, awesome. They're not short books.
I know. I know some people who
They
read
read faster
them
each
once
time.
a year, so that's the only book they read in a year, but you know they read them once a year.
I watch them once a year.
I watch the books.
They don't move, do they? They just kind of sit on your desk.
I wrote that one time.
The movie is the Cliff Notes version.
And the reason why I like reading that book time and time again, and some stories resonate with you, some stories stick with you, and when you read a story, the joy is finding yourself in that story, getting lost, you identify with a character and you stick with that character, you know, if it's a good character. I mean, if I'm reading a book for the first time and I don't care about the character in the first chapter, I'm not going to continue reading the book because I'm like, I don't care about this guy. I don't care what happens to him. He could die, he could turn into a mutant. I don't care. And I put that book away and I never read it again. I've read several books where I started and never finished them because I don't care about the characters. I don't identify with any of the characters in that book. Or at least, but The Lord of the Rings, I always find myself identifying at some points with Frodo, trying to defeat the darkness or trying to he has this overwhelming burden that he has to carry with him. I find myself identifying with Sam, whose friend has an overwhelming burden that has to be carried with him. And Sam says, I'm going to stick with you true-hearted. Sometimes it's Aragorn, who has a destiny that he's not so sure about, or that he's sure about, and it's just not working. And he knows that he's destined to do something, so he goes after it because he has to. I've never identified with the elf, Legolas.
Oh, the chick.
And I'd like to identify with Gandalf, the guy who has all the power someday, but I'm going to wait until I'm older for that one. So I bring this up. I want this here, thank you. I bring this up because we are in the middle of reading a story. A story about redemption. A story that has real characters. You know, people who existed. A story somebody wrote down in such a way that we have a chance to identify with these people. And at some point in time, we'll identify with one person in the story and then another person later. And then we will have identified with every character in this story, except maybe Elimelech, who died really quickly. We didn't know. But we've got the characters. Let's go down the list of the characters. We got Naomi, who had a husband and 2 kids die, and now she's worthless, or she feels worthless, and society deems her as worthless. We have Ruth and Orpah. Orpah, who just abandons the whole situation and says, we hear nothing about her except that she's a quitter. And then Ruth, who sticks with somebody, who commits her life to this person to make them better. And then we have Boaz, a kinsman redeemer, somebody who has the power and authority to make their lives better, but doesn't know it. So when we read the story, when we think about the story, where do you fit in? Who are you identifying with? You don't have this, I don't blurt it out. This is one of those reflective answers. And guys, it's okay. You can identify with Ruth and Naomi. You know, I know they're chicks, but you know, you can identify with them in their situation. I was trying to avoid saying that word throughout this whole sermon series, but it just happened. And girls, you can identify with Boaz. But we come to chapter 3. In chapter 1, Naomi lost all her male relatives, told Ruth to go away, Ruth and Orpah to go away. Orpah leaves, Ruth decides to stay. And not just stay, but commit her life to making Naomi's better. And that's all good. You know, we're talking about giving value to people, right? Giving value to the worthless people, giving other worthless people value. Now, one beggar telling another beggar where to find the bread. You know, that kind of situation. We're all in the same boat, so how can I make your life better? And then she goes and starts working with this guy named Boaz in chapter 2. And Boaz, really thinks she's cute and has drawn affection to her and starts, understand, not just because she's probably cute, but she's also doing some good stuff for Naomi. So he values Ruth, who is valuing Naomi, but still they are, but still at this point in time, I don't think Ruth has a full comprehension of what she's doing or what's going on in her life, or the fact that that she is still in the same boat as Naomi. I don't think she's realized that. Have you ever been there? Do you know you're in the same boat as somebody and you think you're slightly better than they are, so you just, or more well off than they are, so you invest your life into helping somebody else out. And you don't realize, and you have no knowledge or no idea that, or you don't even have time to think about your situation in life. You're investing in somebody else. That's Ruth. Everything she's done so far has been to invest in Naomi's life. Every time she got grain from boat, she went to go glean in the field so that she and Naomi can have something to eat. Every time she got some more stuff, she brought it home to Naomi to support Naomi. And then Naomi sits there and she looks at her one day and says this, chapter 3. I'm just going to read the entire chapter and then we'll talk about it. I know I've said that before, but this time I mean it. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash, therefore, and anoint yourselves, and put on your cloak. Go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." And she replied, all that you say I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. At midnight the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" That's what every guy wants. Behold, a woman's laying at my feet. I woke up in the middle of the night. I didn't know that. Whoa, she's there. Sorry, I tried that. And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." And he said, May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning. So she lay at his feet until the morning, but arose before one could recognize another, and he said, let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. And he said, bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out. So she held it out, and he measured 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then she went into the city, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, how did you fare, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, these 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law. She replied, wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out. For the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today. There were so many times I wanted to stop, but I promised you I'd make it all the way through. What we see here is, the chapter opens with Naomi pointing out to Ruth that she's still in a bad state. Let me read to you. We've been talking about redemption. And I figured it's time I actually went to the Googled a definition. And this is what I got. Redemption is a noun. It's the act of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. Or 2, a thing that saves someone from error or evil. Or some other things say the act of, or something that needs to be redeemed. All right, I looked up the word redeem. It's a verb. And the word that the definition that I think fits best with what we've been talking about and what Ruth is this. Do something that compensates for poor or past behavior, or compensate for the faults or bad aspects of something. Compensate for the faults or bad aspects of something. Bad aspects, for example, the fact that she's a widow, the fact that she's lost everything, that she has no standing, that she couldn't vote, she couldn't participate in society as much, that she's forced to just glean in fields.
So perhaps a slightly better word would be negative as opposed to bad.
Negative, thank you. That is a better idea. Negative aspects. I'm just
That's all right. That's
stuck on what Google gives me.
That's one of the reasons I'm here.
He's helpful sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. Negative aspects.